Today I'm with Julie Starr Hook. She's a professional organizer and also an author. And today we're in a beautiful home in Northwest Portland, and this is a kitchen that you did the makeover on.
Yes.
You're going to share some of the tips that you did for this homeowner. So where do we get started?
Well, let's get started from top to bottom.
All
How
right.
does that sound?
That's great.
All right. Well, one thing we have here is placement for the oil and vinegars. And you'll notice that they're on a turntable. And so you don't have to reach back to try to figure out what you want to get. And also it will preserve your shelves. Another thing, just while we're on turntables, is you might want to consider placing medium to larger size items on a turntable because smaller items tend to get lost. So I would avoid placing like small spices and maybe food coloring and maybe bouillon cubes, some of the smaller items on them, because you will likely somehow in the middle you might lose them.
You don't want to spend all the time looking for stuff.
No.
So my favorite is here. I love to cook.
Yes, so do I.
This is so organized.
All right. Well, again, this is just a awesome drawer of spices. And you'll notice, too, they're alphabetized from A to Z, and I think that just makes it easier for the cook.
As long as someone puts them back where they belong.
Yes, that's very important. And we have a luxury of having quite a big selection and really quite a large size drawer here. Some of us don't have that luxury, so an organizer like this would actually work out quite well. You could have one or two or three and place them in a similar drawer, and this is a great choice if you don't have this kind of space.
Right. So just use as many as it would fit in a drawer.
Right.
So, okay.
Right.
So you've got some other areas to show us.
You bet.
Okay. Let's go take a look. So Julie, where are the pots and pans?
There are these two drawers, which I love. They're so nice on the back because you don't have to, dig into a small cupboard for them. And so she's got her pots, or pans, right here, and she's got her pots down here. Now, something that we could do, and I think would be a good addition to these drawers, is add in a lid organizer. Now, I have this also, but I have mine on a turntable that I have in my house.
Okay.
And this works great for my lids because they don't go all over the place. And again, these can just be easily placed into a drawer or wherever your pots and pans might be, and it's really a great option to store lids.
I love the access here for the pots and pans, really easy. Julie, I noticed that the baking equipment was up above the stove.
Right. Well, really, this is a great use of space. Generally, this area is kind of dead space, so vertical storage is a really good option for it.
Again, easy access.
Yeah.
So how about all the baking utensils?
Well, I like to organize them by different categories. And the first one would be sharp objects. And so this drawer is full of sharp objects. The next one is baking and measuring. And this really makes sense to me. And it's easy, so you're baking something, you know exactly what drawer to go to.
Very systematic.
Yeah. And then now we have the serving pieces. Now, just a couple tips I'd like to give you is you could take your most frequently used items and put in a crock like this, and they come in all shapes and sizes, and this could be placed next to the stove. Another thing that you'll find as you are organizing your utensils is you might find cookie cutters and different things in your utensil drawer.
Things you don't use very often.
Yes, so I call these my baking supplies. So things like cookie cutters and candies for cupcakes and that sort of thing, they could all go in a tote, and you can put them into your pantry on a top shelf and get them out when you want to use them. But they're not in your everyday.
They don't get prime real estate.
Yeah, they're not prime real estate. Okay, now she has great storage and lots of drawers. Where at home, I don't have that luxury. So how I divide and organize my utensils, just use an organizer like this, and it is has expandable drawers, and then I could put my measuring items in here in baking, my serving in another, and sharp objects. And then there's bound to be other categories,
Sure.
so I put those in here. And as you can see, it's well used, but it is great.
So what about really sharp objects?
Well, they're in this drawer, and in this case, we don't have a small children in this home, so we could have them at an easy, accessible level. And we have these on a magnetic strip, and magnetic strips are pretty versatile, and they're not going to slip and slide. Now, I have magnetic strip at my house, but I have it mounted above my stove. Well, here you can't because it would be very difficult because of the granite countertops.
It'd take away some of the beauty too.
Yes.
So now we want to know a little bit about your book.
Excellent.
So tell us about your book and tell us where people can find it.
All right. Well, I wrote organizing columns for the Statesman Journal in Salem for about 6.5 years, and I decided it was time to write a book. It is filled with a room by room tip. So let's say you only have an hour to do an organizing job. You can just say, okay, let me open up the linen closet and get started. So you'd be able to get started on a project right away.
And where can people get the book?
Uptown Papers.
Okay.
In Portland is a great place. And as well as Amazon.
All right, great. Well, I appreciate sharing all these tips, and we'll have a link to Julie's website at fusionnw.com. Thanks.
Thank you.